Lincoln's MKX crossover seems to confuse some people that are shopping in this luxury crossover segment. Like the Lexus RX, the MKX is a large two-row crossover. That means you don't find a row right back here in the back of the vehicle like you do find in the Volvo XC90 in most versions or the Acura MDX. As you'd expect for a luxury vehicle of this size, we start out with more features than we find in some of those compact crossovers. For instance, these HID headlamps with LED strips in them are actually standard in the MKX. This does not start out with halogen high beams. You can option your way up into full LED headlamps, but even these base headlamps steer in the corners. At 190 inches long, the MKX is almost exactly the same size as the brand new Cadillac XT5. The Cadillac XT5 and the MKX are both aimed squarely at the 2016 Lexus RX 350. If you look closely at the profiles of the Cadillac, the Lexus, and the Lincoln, you'll notice why the Lexus is a tiny bit longer. We actually have slightly longer bumper overhangs front and rear than we find in the Cadillac and the Lincoln. That means that all three of these vehicles are just about the same size on the inside. Even though the X5 is about 2.5 inches longer than this, the reason you find more space inside this cabin is right up front, because we get a hood that is a little bit shorter than we see in the X5. Because the X5 starts out as a rear-wheel drive vehicle, the engine placement under the hood means that the overall exterior to interior ratio is not quite as efficient as we see in the Lexus, the Lincoln right here, or in the brand new Cadillac. Lincoln has gone for a relatively restrained and elegant style in the back of the MKX. You'll notice we have these very well integrated exhaust tips right here in the lower portion of the bumper, parking sensors right back here, reflectors in this section, and then the tail lamp modules have this light strip that actually joins them across the back in the hatch. For 2016, there are two different engines offered in the MKX. Things start out with a 3.7-liter V6 engine that's a little bit larger than you'll find in the Lexus RX. It produces 303 horsepower and 278 pound-feet of torque. Optional is this engine right here, which is a twin-turbo 2.7-liter V6 engine. This is closely related to what we see in the Ford F-150 pickup truck, although the power output levels are a little bit different when used in this vehicle. Front seat comfort ranges from excellent to unbelievable in the MKX. We have the unbelievable model right here, which does use a 22-way power adjustable driver's seat. We also have a tilt telescopic steering column and a massage feature in addition to the heating and ventilation. If you can't find a comfortable seating position in the MKX, you're probably not human. Although there's no passenger seat memory like we do find in certain Mercedes or BMW models, it has the same range of motion as the driver's seat, which means it's also the most comfortable passenger seat in this category. As I said, the MKX is a step above something like a Volvo XC60, BMW X5, or Audi Q5 in terms of overall size. That's very obvious right back here in the back seat, because I have about 4 or 5 inches of legroom back here sitting right here behind myself, and that's definitely more than you'd find in those European options. I also get a very generous amount of headroom, even though we do have the optional panoramic roof in this model, and that does decrease headroom just a little bit. Behind this tailgate, you'll find about 7 cubic feet more space than you'll find in the brand new Cadillac XT5, and about 8 cubic feet more than the brand new Lexus RX 350. That's even before you take a look under this cargo area load floor. You'll notice we have a little bit of extra storage space, and we also have a spare tire right under there, which you don't find in all of those European options. As you'd expect in a luxury vehicle, we have soft touch plastics on the upper portion of the dashboard and the lower portion as well. You'll find the glove box open button right over here in the center console. It is a moderately sized bin style arrangement, was not able to fit a large tablet computer inside. Even though the glove compartment is a little smaller than I expected, we do have a 2-tiered storage area right here in the center console, made possible by the drivetrain design in the MKX. We also see something similar going on in the MKZ. You can very easily stick large items in either of those two storage areas. Our model has the optional Revel audio system, so we do have a center channel speaker right up there. You'll find the gear selector for the automatic transmission in this button bank right over here on the left side of the infotainment and navigation screen. Push the button for whatever gear you want to be in, drive, neutral, reverse, park, or the sport mode right back there. On the right side of the screen, we have a camera button, which does show you your 360-degree camera, or the front view camera, or the back view camera, depending on what drive mode you're in. So if we switch to the drive mode, you'll see that changes right there. We also have the autonomous parking option, parking sensor enable disable, and the hazard light button. On the driver's side, we have a partial LCD instrument cluster that's very similar to what we see in the Lincoln MKZ as well. Most of what you're seeing is actually an LCD, although we do have large physical elements as well. So this ring that runs right around the speedometer right here with the numbers on it, and that would actually be the mile per hour numbers only, is actually a physical ring. However, this kilometer per hour scale on the inside, as well as the actual needle for the gauge, that's actually an LCD. We also have an LCD right down here for the fuel gauge. This portion right down here with our gear indicator is an LCD, and then we have this large rectangular section which starts right over here and gives you your infotainment and navigation information all the way to the center of the tachometer. That's all an LCD as well. The steering wheel is almost a 3-spoke design. We have this sort of split spoke at the bottom with real wood trim on there. This is open pore wood trim like we see in some of the European options. Shift paddles on the back of the steering wheel, up on the right and down on the left. Out on the road, the MKX is an interesting mix of different feels. This actually handles and accelerates very well for this segment. Acceleration times came in at 6.3 seconds, 0 to 60 in this twin-turbo model. That's faster than a 3-liter turbocharged BMW X5. It's also about a full second faster than a Lexus RX 350. Now, it is a hair slower than a Lexus RX Hybrid, but this is significantly less expensive than the Lexus. When it comes to braking, we also ran from 60 to 0 in an incredibly short time, 118 feet. That means this stops shorter than a mid-grade Honda Accord, and that is quite impressive for a large, heavy crossover like this. However, the adaptive suspension in this vehicle is definitely tuned towards the softer side of things. That means when we're going around corners like this, the MKX actually feels a little bit floaty-boaty compared to some of the competition, even that Lexus RX 350. Now, interestingly enough, that does not mean this handles poorly in comparison to the Lexus RX. Quite the opposite. This actually road holds more like a BMW X5 than the Lexus RX. It's just that the feel is definitely soft, sort of that classic Lincoln ride. Now, you can firm the adaptive suspension up by putting the suspension into the sport mode, and that will make this feel a little bit firmer, but it's never going to make it feel rock hard like a European sedan. If you're looking for something more comfortable for your daily commute or long highway trips, the MKX is definitely going to be the better option even than the Lexus RX 350. The MKX actually beats Lexus at their own game because this accelerates faster than the RX, it handles better than the RX, it brakes better than the RX, it has a better ride than the RX, and the cabin is also a little bit quieter than the Lexus RX as well. In fact, the only real area that the MKX lags behind the competition is the fuel economy, and it does lag behind the competition by a decent amount. We've been averaging just over 19 miles per gallon in this vehicle over about 500 miles of mixed driving, and that is definitely lower than you'll see in the RX 350 or the BMW X5, or perhaps an Audi Q5, etc. In fact, even some of the larger 3-row options like an Acura MDX will get better average fuel economy than this Lincoln MKX. They won't be as much fun, but they will give you better fuel economy. Let's tackle the elephant in the room first, the Lexus RX, because it is not only the best seller in this segment, it's the biggest direct competitor to the MKX. It also is the easiest to discuss because the MKX is quite simply a better crossover in just about every way. The only real area where the Lexus RX excels over the MKX is in fuel economy. You will definitely get better fuel economy in the RX 350 or the RX Hybrid. However, in just about every other way, the MKX excels over the RX, and it actually beats Lexus at the typical Lexus game. This actually gives you a softer, quieter highway ride while simultaneously giving you better handling and better acceleration than we see over there in the Lexus RX. There are more luxury features going on the inside, and I actually think the interior looks slightly better put together than most versions of the RX. Lexus does offer that large format LCD infotainment system in the dashboard, and it is a gorgeous display, but the software that drives it is actually still one step behind this My Lincoln Touch system that we're seeing in this cabin. When it comes to pricing, the MKX does start a little bit lower than the Lexus RX 350, but when you start adding options onto the vehicle, they're going to be very comparably priced. This will still be a hair less expensive than a Lexus RX. You're likely to find a slightly better deal on it on dealer lots because Lincoln dealers are a little bit more likely to negotiate with you than the Lexus dealer, but they are priced very, very similarly. Now that said, when we start taking a look at mid-level or top-end trims of the Lexus and the Lincoln really starts to distinguish itself. Even the base Lincoln has more power than we see over there in the Lexus. Fuel economy is not quite as good, but I'm actually willing to trade that for the extra power and the better engine note that we get in the Lincoln. Building on that, as you start working your way up the Lexus pricing ladder, the Lincoln actually gets a little bit better because you can get the 2.7-liter twin-turbo engine for the same price as those mid-level and top-level trims over there on the Lexus side. You're definitely getting more power and more performance out of the Lincoln than you'll get out of the Lexus. Obviously, you will be trading some of that fuel economy we do see in the Lexus RX 350 or especially the RX 450 Hybrid However, this is actually slightly faster than a BMW X5 with their 3-liter turbocharged engine. My bottom line with the MKX is that if you're shopping in this segment, especially if you're shopping for a Lexus RX, you should definitely put the MKX at the top of your shopping list, and I would actually put it above that Lexus RX. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Again, I'm Alex Dykes with thetruthaboutcars.com. Click that subscribe button down there, find us over at ttac.com, and I'll see you next week.